In this video, I'm going to show you the best gem character in Anime Dimension. No matter if you're a beginner, if you've come a long way, or if you're one of the best players in the game, this is a video for you. I tested the best gem characters alongside with the best raid character to just see in fair tests how good they are at everything. And also make sure to subscribe because at 33,333 subscribers, I'm going to make a giveaway. Let's get on with it. So at the start of the game, your account will look a little bit like this. So you might have common cards, no real good fruits, no real good pets, and no accessory, and obviously no good characters because you don't start out with anything. Which gem character is the best to buy when you're just starting out? So there are a few options here. A few of them are 2,500 gems, a few of them are 1,600 gems, and a few of them are even cheaper than that. Now I will warn you that most of the characters that are under 1,600 gems you can drop in dimensions, and therefore you should not buy. And most of them are also not that good, with one exception, so do not use these for the most part unless it's the only one you have. Now also a few gem characters are droppable that are 1,600 gems. So for example, power you can get for free in the devil dimension. So if you want to save gems long term, then don't buy her. You can see whatever drop there exists if you just, before you enter the dimension, check the drops here. You can always see at least one character you can drop. Now in the beginning, you also want a character that is really good in dimensions and not too bad in raids. So there are characters that are very good in raids, but really trash at dimensions, and at the beginning you really want to complete as many dimensions as possible, so having a character that's just good for raids is not that great. I'll split these into two parts. So the best gem character for beginners for damage and raid purposes is Gojo. Gojo is really strong. Then we got Gem Sunjin Woo, or rank Hunter, followed by the awakened version of Rimuru. We also have Diablo, who's really strong with the third ability, and Sonic thereafter. Misaka is really good, and Power is not that good without a pet, but we'll get to that later. Rimuru without the awakening, however, is really bad, and we also got the only 800 gem character I'm testing right now, Archer, at the last. For the dimension, dashes and AoE are really beneficial, so the list changes. We got Gem Sanjiwoo at the top, so Gem Sanjiwoo in general was really high up. We got Sonic thereafter, also a 2,500 gem character. Rimuru with Awakening is only really good because of his AoE and because of the Awakening move, and Diablo is pretty close as well. Power has a dash but doesn't have the greatest AoE, and Archer and Misaka are pretty bad. Rimuru without the Awakening is even worse, and Gojo is really trash at dimensions. Now here we can see all the characters that I mentioned in a tier list for the damage, and I've also put the best raid character in because I've tested him as well, so you know how big the difference is. You can see that a few characters are pretty good for damage, but getting a raid character is a huge priority. We can also see in dimensions that Gem Sanjiwoo is the best for beginners. He's good for both damage and for dimensions, while Gojo was really good for raids, but not for dimensions. Also keep in mind that all the information I get in these videos are taken from the spreadsheet where I collect all my information, and here are the things I'm gonna show today. Gem Sanjiwoo has a dash which is really good for dimensions, and he's pretty good for beginner players. So Gem Sanjiwoo is definitely a character that you can get. There are two downsides with Gem Sanjiwoo, however. One is that you can definitely drop him late game. At level 151, the level dimension will drop him for free. So long term, this is a bad purchase. In general though, it will take a long time for you to get level 151, and buying him will not disrupt your progress. It's just very long term. Second thing is that in the shop, he actually costs 2,500 gems instead of 1,600 gems. So he is more expensive, but the best. Rimuru is actually pretty good even though he doesn't have a dash. However, that's only with the Awakening move. Without it, he's actually worse than basically everyone here. So To awaken him, he's gonna be even more expensive than Gem Sunjin Woo. So for a main, don't get him. But he is a really good assist, which I'll get on later. If you don't want to get Gem Sunjin Woo, you have 3 alternatives. Either you can get Misaka, which is pretty good. She doesn't have a dash, but she has really fast cooldowns, at least for the first ability. You can spam her pretty well, and she isn't droppable. Or you can get Power. Power is actually really good late game, and she has a pretty good dash. She has pretty good stuff in general. But you can drop her at later dimensions, so she's basically the same situation as Gem Sunjin Woo. You can also get Diablo, which is basically the same as Misaka. He also gets a damage buff with the third ability, so use that wisely. In my Noob to Pro series, I was tempted to get Rimuru, but I didn't. I was also tempted to get Power, but I didn't, and I got Gem Sunjin Woo. Especially now with the event, you can get so many gems with the code, so you can probably get 2,500 gems as soon as you start the game, or if not, maybe after like 10 minutes of playing. So I would definitely get Gem Sunjin Woo. If you've played for a bit, then chances are that you will not need to use a gem character. However, it's still good to know which one is the best. And that goes especially if you've been a returning player and you played like 2 years ago and now you have outdated characters. Then maybe some of the new or old gem characters are better than the current characters you got right now. Your account may look like this. You have an okay character, you have okay cards. Now I'm using commons and 1 mythic just simulates some substats, but in general, cards with some substats, maybe a Kurumi pet, maybe the ODM gear, all simple stuff to progress in the game. We will again split it to 2 parts. Again, Black Asta, the best raid character in the game, is the best in this test. However, closely after is actually Gojo. He's really good with the Kurumi pet, and he was actually the old meta character for raids. That's why he was so good without a pet, because he was meta without a pet, and then that's also why he's so good now, because he was meta with Kurumi pets. After that, we got the Awakened version of Rimuru, and this is probably just because of the Awakened move being really OP. All Awakened moves are really good, basically. Power comes in really close after that, and Diablo right after that. Archer is now making a comeback because Archer is actually really good with a pet. And that's why I put Archer here, even though it's not a 1600 gem character, because Archer is actually really good if you get a good pet, but in the beginning, not at all. Then we got Misaka and Sonic, which were pretty good in the last test, I guess, but not anymore. And then we got Gem Sunjin Woo. The best character before, basically, is now one of the worst. And at the bottom we got Rimuru. However, Gem Sunjin Woo is more of a discussion, because Gem Sunjin Woo is really bad when you get better pets. So the better you get, the worse Gem Sunjin Woo is gonna become. Though in Dimensions, Gem Sunjin Woo is still standing at the top. We also got Power, one of the other few which has a dash and a really good AoE attack with the 4th ability. Misaka and Sonic are really close to each other, as well as Diablo. They're really good just in the middle here. Rimuru with Awakening is now falling off a bit because the other characters have better movements, and Archer is still really bad here. Rimuru without the Awakening is very bad, and Gojo is still the worst for Dimensions. Here we have the damage again, and Asta is clearly better. So if you have the chance, definitely purchase him for 3,600 raid tokens. Gojo is not bad, however, and Rimuru with Awakening actually is pretty decent. Power makes a comeback a bit in damage now, and she's not too bad. And Diablo, Archer, Misaka, Sonic, pretty mid. Gem Sunjin Woo, like I said, not that good, but the bottom here is Rimuru. For Dimensions, Asta is much better than these current ones as well. However, Gem Sunjin Woo is the best out of the gem characters, which he was in the last test before as well. So for Dimensions, Gem Sunjin Woo still stands at the top. Otherwise, we got simple stuff. Gojo still the worst, and a few mid characters in the middle. I'm going to dive into the assists as well. So here I've added a few other characters. I've added the meta characters. I've added Saber. I've added some other gem characters just so you have a reference for how good they are as assists. Keep in mind, this is purely as assists for damage. Now, Rimuru and Saber Awakened are really good assists. Without the Awakening, they're still here at E at F tier. Now, they're not as good as the meta assists, but they have really good effects. 60-second cooldowns, they are really good. So now when you are at the mid tier, which you are now, you don't really need to buy a main. At this point, I would tell you to buy assists. I would recommend you buying Rimuru and Saber and awaken them. Sure, Gems on Yiwu and Gojo were the best for dimensions and raids, whatever, but at this point, when you're this good, you don't need a gem character as a main. You should probably have Black Asta, or you should have a raid character, or gacha character, or Roblox character, or whatever. So you don't need to buy a main, so at this point I would just recommend you getting assists. And the only two really worth assists for gems are these two, and they actually are really good assists. Now if you're one of the best players in the game, and especially just if you have Garo pets or a character with celestial traits, then I would consider you really good. Now, then you obviously don't need a gem character. You've obviously had other characters that are better, unless it's like a limited gem character. One thing I will tell you though is that most good tier lists are made with the best gear in mind. They are using celestial traits, with Garo pet and whatever. So most of you guys will not benefit from the tier lists that you see everywhere, because those characters have been tested with the best gear. So that's why I've shown you a bit with worse gear and better gear, but now I'm gonna show you if you actually have the best gear. But yeah, you should not need any of these characters, so it's just for you to know who's the best and basically how everyone else, every other really good player and their tier list has these characters at the top. Now, Black Asta is still the best character here. No permanent gem character is better than the best raid character. So no matter which character you get, as soon as you get Black Asta, which I do recommend you getting, just use them. And another thing to note is that these tests that I'm going to show you now are used with Celestial Trait, which is really expensive. So I couldn't afford to get a Celestial on all of them, but so I made Celestial on the ones that have been the best so far, or the ones I knew were going to be the best. The best gem character in this test is Power, and that's why in most tier lists from pros you see that Power is the best gem character, and I've even made a video about Power being the best character and everything like that. That's because we've tested them with the best gear. Now, as you can see in the previous tests, she was not the best if you didn't have the best gear, but keep that in mind. If you have the best gear in the game, Power is gonna be the best gem character. After that, we got Gojo. In general, Gojo is a powerhouse. He's always been good for raids, and he always will be. He's just not as good as the newer characters. Rimuru with the Awakening move is not really close to Gojo, but he is after Gojo. And then we got Gems on Yiwu. Still really bad. Gems on Yiwu is so bad that he's slightly, just ever so slightly, better than Rimuru without an Awakening. That's how bad Gems on Yiwu is with the best gear, but he is really good for beginners. In Dimensions, Gems on Yiwu is, however, really good. He has a pretty good dash, he has pretty good AoE, he is actually pretty good in Dimensions. Power is also really good here. She just doesn't have the best AoE on her first and second abilities, but otherwise she's really good. Rimuru doesn't have a dash, and that's also the reason why he's not that good in this test. And Rimuru without the Awakening doesn't have the Awakening move, which brings a speed buff, so Rimuru just falls off there. Gojo, as normal, is the worst gem character for Dimensions here that I've tested. Again, we can see that Black Asta is really good, and that's just the case. But Power and Gojo are actually really good with the pets. They beat most of the raid characters, and a lot of characters are just worse than these two gem characters you can get permanently. Rimuru without the Awakening and with the Awakening, and also Gems on Yiwu, they're not so good in this tier, so just use any other better character. Now, I couldn't test Archer, Diablo, Misaka, or Sonic here, but yeah, they wouldn't be better than Power or Gojo, that I'm sure of. They would probably be around C tier, at least Diablo, Misaka, and Archer, maybe not Sonic. In Dimensions, relative to Black Asta, Gems on Yiwu is actually really good in just Dimensions. Speedrunning Dimensions. if you have the best gear in the game. He has a really good dash, but this is, keep in mind, just speed running in Dimensions, just the movements. In general, in Dimensions, he's not as good as Asta, which we could see in the previous test, but speedrunning. And also, Power just has a worse dash, which is why she can't speedrun, and the other characters do not have dashes. Rimuru with Awakening move, first of all, it's a move that has good AoE, so he can clear better areas, and also it gives a speed boost for 45 seconds, so it actually makes him pretty good. The other characters do not have anything, so they're really bad. Now, in my old character spreadsheet, which you can still access here, you just gotta click old character info instead of new character info. Nothing is really wrong, you can definitely use this. However, there was an advantage to Awakening characters, which is why Rimuru is the best here instead of Gojo, and here... But you still see Power being the best with Garo pets, then Gojo. You can still see the same things almost. Basically, I've tested almost every character here, so you can definitely use this. Just check the description, subscribe to use it, and everything like that. You can always use this. However, I'm updating it now to have it in this new one, and we'll take a look at this. So far, I've only done these characters, and Black Asta, you can see, is much better in all the raids. No matter what you're using, no matter where you're on the game, Black Asta is gonna be better by a lot in all tests. Black Asta is just gonna be a lot better. We also have Gojo, which is really good, and Power is really good with the best gear, with a Garo pet, with Kermi pet, not even the best, and then without a pet at all. Not even good at all. You can see that Rimuru is pretty good for damage, but that's only if you have the Awakening. And Archer is, sure, Archer is good with a better pet, but it doesn't really matter. In general, Gojo is really good, but I wouldn't get Gojo because he's so bad at Dimensions. Power is really good with the best gear, but I wouldn't get Power because, well, she's not really good at early game and you can drop her later. Rimuru is really good. And in general, you can definitely get Rimuru. You will get Rimuru as an assist anyway, and I was definitely tempted to buy Rimuru and just awaken them and just have a main and an assist just combined. Otherwise, Diablo and Misaka are really good all-arounders, but Gem Sonrywu is still not a bad choice for beginners. In Dimensions, Gem Sonrywu is actually the best all around except for Black Asta. Sonic and Power do have dashes as well as Archer, so they are pretty good in Dimensions as well. However, they fall off a bit with pets, unlike Power, which actually gets better. And then we have Rimuru, and Gojo. You can see on the assists here, we have the meta assists, which are really good, the event characters, we have some raid characters. Not too behind are Saber and Rimuru with Awakenings. They are actually really good. After that, Todoroki you could see in the tier list, and then we also get Saber Unawakened really far down. And yeah, just in general, don't use anyone as assist except for Saber and Rimuru if they're awakened. We also have 3 other tests that I didn't show in the video. We have the burst test, which is pretty useful. It could be used in speed raid or boss rush, or just quick succession of damage, like killing a boss in a dimension. The damage is basically how fast you can deal, or how much damage you can deal in 10 seconds. Black Asta is the best in this test, and this is using Celestial as well, so I couldn't test all of them. Rimuru is actually really good in this test because of the Awakening move. So in Boss Rush, Rimuru might be the best here. We also have the Garo multiplier test, which is basically how much better they get while using Garo Pet. And you can see Gem Sonrywu is not getting better at all, basically, which is why he also falls off the better you get. Without a pet at all, he's pretty good, but with a pet, he doesn't benefit from the pets, so he falls off. Same with Sonic. Black Asta doesn't benefit a lot from the Garo pets, but he's just so good in general base. And then we have Archer, which is why I also included him in the beginning, but I figured he would not become as good as the other characters anyway. Archer is really good with the Garo pets. In general, Gojo, Power, and Misaka, I thought these would be the best 3 in raid damage. I was kinda right with Gojo and Power, I guess, but not Misaka. I knew Misaka benefits a lot from Garo pets and just in general has good pet energy gain, but yeah, it didn't matter. And then we have Rimuru, doesn't really matter, benefits the same, and Diablo as well. It combos into this test, the pet energy gain test, basically how long it takes for you to fill up the Garo pets 5 times. So it's 1250 energy per activation, so you need 6250 pet energy gain. And Gojo did it in 44 seconds. That's really good. Power, also really good. Archer, also really good. Though Power got a bit more damage than Archer while doing it in the same time. This also, the number to the left, is basically the DPS, the damage per second. So the total damage divided by how many seconds there were. And in general, Gojo is really strong, but he's beaten by Black Asta. Black Asta was a bit better and a bit stronger. Otherwise, it should be pretty good here. Yeah, you could see why Gems on Jibu and Sonic do not get that much effectiveness from Garo, because they don't fill up the pets fast. They're really bad, and Diablo is just strong with his third ability. That's why he's still okay. But even if Gems on Jibu is really bad late game, and he's not a good assist, then with the pet he sucks. He is the best in Dimensions, and he is the best for beginners. And that's why I would recommend you getting Gems on Jibu, because in late game, you won't use any gem character anyway. So, beginning, buy Gems on Jibu. Then you can get Power, no, not Power. Then you can get the 2 assists. I was meant to say Rimuru. Rimuru with Awakening, and also Saber with Awakening. I haven't tested Saber in this test because she's a really bad main, but as an assist, she's actually really good. And after that, you're not gonna use gem characters anymore, and you can buy whoever you want just for stat points. But yeah, Gems on Jibu is really good for beginners, and that's why you should get him. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. Subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to do that for the giveaway. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and see you in the next one.